Hello everyone, this is Crota giving you a shoutcast on game 1 of a series between Kaz versus Liquid. I think it's Zenio. Hopefully I am saying that correctly. I have never actually heard his name pronounced. It could be Zen-I-O but that would just slow down my casting. So my apologies if I am mispronouncing. Then again, I'm sure I'm going to get flamed in the comments anyways. We see Zenio spawning as the red Zerg on the top right-hand side of the map. This is Tal'Darim Altar. Meanwhile, on the bottom left-hand side of the map, we have EmpireKas. So Kaz versus Zenio here on Tal'Darim Altar, game 1 of what I hope to be is a very, very good series, as an SCV now making its way off to the front door to perhaps set up supply depots and build perhaps some barracks and perhaps try to go for a fast expansion. Now, some of the basic strategies in Terran versus Zerg for Terran is when to establish that natural, or when to establish your natural expansion. Same thing goes for Zerg, but Zerg can generally establish that expansion much more quickly with the help of queens. So we'll see whether or not Zenio will go for a more of an economic build by getting earlier gas, or if he will be going for an earlier hatchery. He may go for a spawning pool first, but if he doesn't get that gas, it means that he really wants to get that hatchery much earlier and then get that double queen as soon as it is available. A barracks now being built over here on the far side as well. It doesn't seem that there is any gas or any a refinery now being placed down by Kaz. So Kaz is going for early gas, which shows that he's going to be trying to tech a little bit earlier in this matchup. Meanwhile, Zenio looking to go for a longer macro game, trying to get larva extra quickly by setting up that hatchery. We should be seeing a spawning pool following this up. And then we'll see when Zenio does get that gas for the metabolic boost on those Zerglings. Now, normally when I see an early or a standard gas now coming in from a Terran against a Zerg player, I assume that he will be building an extra supply depot here and then going for his factory. By doing that, he can get a reactor on the barracks and then start double training Hellions. Hellions, especially on this large of a map, are very effective as they give Terran a lot of map control, something that they don't normally have in the early stages of the game. You are going to see one Marine making its way. It is going to hold its position on the ramp, perhaps try to shoot down any drones that make their way in, as we see the SCV still doing a bit of scouting. Overlord in this position here. This Overlord is also scouting, but Zenio has not really moved outside of his base. The extractor is already down, so Zenio opting to go for an extractor pool, and he should have about 100 gas right as this pool is done. You can see only 5 more trips shy. He is getting that double queen, and he is going to have metabolic boost on those Zerglings. SCV of Kaz now going to take a look around. He does see the hatchery, and now he is going to try to use that factory for the Hellions. The problem is going to be that those Zerglings are going to be able to surround those Hellions very quickly early on, as the Zerglings will outrun those Hellions, especially on creep. You see the lift-off swap there now as Kaz going to be landing his barracks, or landing his factory, making room as that reactor is there, and we'll see what else is going to be happening here. Kaz is no longer getting any gas, a very telltale sign that he is now just trying to expand as quickly as possible. A Zergling going to make its way up, and that Zergling is going to perhaps deal enough damage to take down the SCV. SCV may get destroyed. This is going to be a bit of an issue as Kaz needs to run away with this SCV. SCV down to 15 hit points. It may get taken down to 10. A new SCV coming over, and Marines also coming over as well. The Marines should be able to finish that off. There goes the Zergling as Hellions now make a move across the map. Here is where Kaz is going to try to wrestle away map control from Zenio. Harvester count 27 versus 22 as the units now make their way up the ramp. We'll see how this is all going to work. There is that standard 1 spine crawler. There are double queens as well. The Hellions are pretty much going to be there to try to limit the amount of creep spread on these creep tumors. You cannot allow Zerg to freely get creep. If you do, then they will be able to just have an early warning system. Roaches are going to be faster. Zergling's much more dangerous. But at the same time, Kaz is now starting to lose this economic war. As you can see, there's already 2 bases running up for Zenio. Meanwhile, only 1 base for Kaz. Kaz not getting up to a second base. He will be able to get up an orbital command as the Zerglings and the Hellions tried their best. Oh, a nicely done there, the Hellion. was able to give sight up onto the high ground, but the creep tumor able to burrow itself as these Hellions are unable to stop this creep tumor. Zenio, I like this strategy. Just utilize the creep tumors along the high ground, and it will still spread to the low ground since the creep is coming in from this far side. So it looks like Zenio will be able to perhaps get creep up to here, and then perhaps even start pushing it down over here eventually, as there are Zerglings holding the Xel'Naga towers. 6 Hellions, soon to be 8. And without the spine crawlers and these queens here, I do not imagine a lot of damage will be dealt. The Hellions now trying to come in, but 3 more Hellions coming in from the south side. Zerglings trying to torch those Hellions, but I believe a lot of damage still being dealt. The Zerg creep doing doing its job, allowing those units to move a little bit more quickly, as the Hellions are now just completely getting destroyed in the center portion of the map. However, 3 Hellions versus the rest of those Zerglings there. Harvester count is now 40 to 33 with 9 drones being trained. And Zenio looking very strong economically. Taking a look at the base for Kaz now. Kaz is behind by 12 food. Hellions now making their way off to the north. 1 Zergling sitting at this location, this expansion, making sure no orbital commands are going to be landing there. Kaz now really going into heavy production, getting up more barracks. We'll see if he does add a starport and get a reactor as well. It looks like the starport is now being built. A reactor going to follow up closely behind, as the Hellions now need to wrestle away that control. The income tab shows much higher income for Kaz in terms of minerals, but he is not harvesting, or he doesn't really have anyone on these refineries yet. When he pulls some SCVs off, I believe Zeno should be able to pull ahead, as 6 SCVs will be lost harvesting from that gas. Hellions now coming around the corner, making sure that the rocks have not been destroyed. A nice clear out there, forcing Zenio to sit on 2 bases. Now, this is an awkward situation for a Zerg player. The Zerg player knows that he needs to expand. He needs to get more resources. He needs better map control. But with these Hellions out, he's not going to really be able to do much about it. There are no roaches that I can see, and banelings are simply just not fast enough to deal with these units. More creep tumors being cancelled again. Very nicely done, Zenio. Oh, this creep tumor may get destroyed. Yes, it does get destroyed. 2 more creep tumors go down, as the queen was trying to utilize some extra energy, unable to do anything about that. But the Zerglings will finish off these rocks here. Production tab shows 1-1 upgrades coming in for Zerg. Soon 1-0 upgrades for Terran, as the Zerglings running in a straight line into a couple of these Hellions here. The Zerglings now perhaps going to try to get a nice surround. The Hellions doing a good job just dancing though, and the Hellions doing a great job just trying to make sure that those Zerglings do not get a surround. And these Zerglings have been just falling left and right, but now in comes some banelings. Even if the banelings die, the banelings do deal splash damage if they are close enough. Hellions with only a range of 5, or a targeting range of 5, damage range of 6. That Baneling may get a little bit too close for comfort, and Hellions are in fact light units. We see a double expansion coming in from Zenio, both at the 3 o'clock and at the 1 o'clock location. We'll see where or how this will be utilized, as a lot of drones now just hatching. You can see 10 drones making their way off. More drones coming off from over here, being most likely transferred, as the harvester count now 73 to 65. Hellions still trying to stop all of these creep tumors. Kaz now finally catching up. Terran with so many production buildings, finally able to start training up more units. You can see siege tanks as well being added. Siege tech has not been researched, as an orbital command will be landing at the 7 o'clock location. Now, Kaz is currently supply blocked, needs to get more and more supply depots up. Now sitting already at 134 over 137 after completing 2 supply depots. Meanwhile, Zenio, very happy here at the 1 o'clock position. A large number of drones, already up to 16, 2 per mineral patch. A hatchery here as well. Will start to mine away, and both sides looking for a very, very large engagement. Zerglings chasing after the Hellion. It looks like that Zergling may get taken out really, really easily. The Hellion should be able to come back up onto the high ground, and the Zergling does get destroyed. Perhaps some SCVs will repair those cars, as Marines are upgraded 1-0 with combat shield and stim. 2-0 upgrades, or 2-1 upgrades now coming in, as we also see an infestation pit. Zenio looking to perhaps land some fungal growths across multiple units here. We'll see what's going to be happening. 1 Marine getting caught in transit, as Zergling still holding this expansion off. Marines, Hellions, siege tanks, a lot of medevacs in the air. We'll see where all of these units will be going as the Zerglings now trying to make their way in. The Marines have to be very careful. There are a lot of Banelings. Banelings are doing, they're finding their way, but unable to splash across that many Marines. And that was a really nice defense by Kaz. Zenio perhaps losing a little bit there as the Mutalisk perhaps trying to get some splash damage here, but one missile turret and one bunker. Simply too much. The Marines are upgraded 1-0, so the damage output from a bunker now finally is higher than the damage output from a missile turret. As I believe it's, what, extra 4 damage every 0.86 seconds, if my calculations are correct. Hellions now continuing to wander around. They do not know about this expansion here, nor do they know about this expansion here. Zenio with a large number of drones, 14, and they are pretty much mining in secret. A secret expansion now, as the Hive being upgraded here at the natural expansion. The siege tanks look to cliff this hatchery here. This hatchery will most likely just get cancelled. Not that effective with their units, as this very large army here, all they did was just force a cancellation, and now the Zerglings and the Mutalisks know where the majority of those units are. Medevac looking to do a drop. There is a macro hatch. There are some queens here. Drones are upgraded 0-1, so with that armor upgrade, they are not going to take nearly as much damage from those Marines, but the Marines are still going to be able to kill them unless they run away. Zerglings, no, Mutalisks now making their way in, as the Marines are in a very good position. Zerglings trying to surround and swarm, going to be able to take down multiple Marines here. The medevac unable to keep these units alive, as there is still a large group of units sitting at the Zelnaga Tower. One Marine looking to perhaps take down that unit there. Zerglings finishing up that Marine as all those units do back off. Zenio now sitting on 4 bases to 3. The destructible rocks here have been destroyed, so we may see a hidden expansion as the Zerglings and Banelings still on the move. Zerglings are off over here. A command center looks like it will be lifted off and landed, perhaps morphing into or upgrading into a planetary fortress. Both players now sitting on about 200 food, or very close to it. But Kaz in the lead right now, as he has a lot more resources to replenish those units. However, there are infestors, as Marines now going to perhaps try to drop into here. This is going to be a very, very bad drop. 4 spine crawlers, all of them just pretty much impaling Marines one at a time. The Marines need to finish off one of those spine crawlers. It looks like one will go down. A second one will go down, as well as the Marines backing away from the rest of the units. Zerglings now swarming in and around as well. The Zerglings are upgraded 2-2 against 2-2 Marines. Banelings perhaps not trying to engage, as they know it will get cleaned up. Meanwhile, on the far side of the map, you see a Thor and Banelings. Oh, that was an awesome detonation there, as Zenio taking down a lot of Marines in a last-ditch effort, as we now see 178 versus 168. Both sides sitting on about 3,000 resources, or hovering around that number now. Medevacs attempting to retreat, won't be able to do so. Mutalisks finishing them off, and poor medevac pilots will not be able to grab drinks with their Marine boyfriends. Don't ask me where that came from. I have absolutely no idea. Anyways, a reactor has been destroyed. Siege tanks now on the march once more. A new reactor being reestablished, but there are Zerglings running in over here. There is a planetary fortress, though, as the mules are now going to start strip mining this location. So the mule is going to start mining out here. What is going on? This mule is, I believe, stuck on the wrong side of some missile turrets. That is really, really bad. You can see the planetary fortress going to go ahead and destroy that missile turret now to try to free up this mule. It looks like that mule will be able to perhaps slip out and now continue to go back to work. Marines, siege tanks are in the bottom position here. Zerglings are now going to swarm in. Mutalisks trying to flock or fly in as well, but the flock of Mutalisks unable to deal any real damage. The siege tanks and the Marines perhaps going to try to cliff or destroy this expansion. Zenio with no real defense here except for those 2 spine crawlers, and it will get cleaned up. And what spine crawlers trying to be established, it's not going to matter very much. The siege tanks so powerful alongside those 2-2 Marines, and the spine crawler will fall. Zenio losing a base here. That's going to be very devastating, as Marines are going to perhaps try to clean up against the Mutalisks and other units. We can see that there is an infestor here as well. Infestor looking to perhaps get off The Infestors perhaps going to look to get off some more damage, as now we do have Broodlords. Zenio transitioning into Broodlords and catching these Marines out of position. There is a fungal growth. Nicely done there. The Thor now trying to battle up against those Broodlords, and there you go. A Thor was able to focus down one of those units here, one of those Infestors, but the Broodlords now cleaning this entire attack force. Marines now dropping, trying to protect those siege tanks. This is not working out well. More Marines being dropped, but it looks like Zenio now with a 200 food advantage will be able to move out with this large attack force. There are Thors and Vikings now being trained, missile turrets, but no autosec tracking on them. Even with autosec tracking, the Broodlords do outrange them 9.5 to 8, as Zerglings now looking to establish additional expansions and guard them, as we now see Zenio establishing 2 more expansions, and we also see Kaz establishing new expansions as well. Large attack force now coming up through the front. Zenio has a fair amount of Infestors here. You can see 7 Infestors. Broodlord's fungal growth is going to pretty much ensure that Marines are not going to get within range. SCV's trying to run away. Oh, SCV's going to absorb some of that damage, and now the missile turret has been pretty much will be destroyed. Banelings now fungal growth. Banelings going to splash across multiple targets here. Marines trying to focus down the Broodlords, but unable to do so. But there are now some Vikings. Vikings now pushing their way in. There's a fungal growth. The Thor getting a fungal growth as well, now continuing to fight back, now getting picked up and perhaps drop back down. You can see more fungal growth hitting multiple units as the Broodlords surrounding with those Broodlings. 1 Thor left, that is all that is left there. This 1 Thor will get destroyed as well as a medevac needs to drop that Thor so it can be repaired. Broodlords now making their way off to the north. You can see that there is a drop of Zerglings over here at the 3rd base. There are plenty of starports who will come out ahead. It looks like there is a missile turret. The missile turret may not be able to take down the Overlord in time. No, 1 Overlord will get destroyed, but the rest of the Zerglings will be able to swarm inside the main base. That is going to be an issue here. 2-0 upgrades now coming in. A burrowed Baneling preventing this command center. Same thing over here. No, a planetary fortress now about to be upgraded, as what is going to happen with all of these Zerglings? The Zerglings could drop at any moment inside the base, causing pressure on both sides. Marines now finishing off the infested Terrans, as the Infestors now need to be careful. Zerglings now simply swarming. There is that planetary fortress here. Very, very good natural defense against Zerglings. It looks like the Thor down to 8 hit points. The planetary fortress doing its job, but in comes the drop of Zerglings inside the main base. Kaz is in trouble. 1 Overlord may get destroyed. No, not even, as the Zerglings going after the engineering base. Banelings unable to find any SCVs over here, as now we have Thors. None of the Thors, however, are being repaired, as Zerglings are going to finish off this planetary fortress. The planetary fortress already up to 10 kills. That base armor, no, the shield, the actual Terran building armor was upgraded, so an additional +2 armor across all Terran buildings, meaning that has 5 armor here. Kaz, however, not going to be able to fend this attack off. You can see that those Broodlords still dealing a lot of damage. The Infestors are causing problems. The Broodlords chasing after the Thor. That's Thor down to 28 hit points. It looks like it will be destroyed. There are still 2 Broodlords in the air. The infested Terrans causing so many issues for those Vikings trying to run away. The planetary fortress looks like it will finally clean this up. More Zerglings now swarming in over here. Mules perhaps are going to try to repair this one planetary fortress already at 586 hit points. Is it going to be repaired in time is the question, as the Zerglings with upgrades, no crackling upgrades though. Kaz may lose his planetary fortress if he's not careful. It looks like he will do that, as no upgrades possible, or sorry, no repairing coming in. Zerglings and Banelings looking to splash here, taking down multiple SCVs. Zerglings finishing this off, as Zenio with a 60 food advantage. Zerglings still running rabid in the base of Kaz, taking down critical reactors and slowing the production of any units. Infested Terrans, Zerglings now swarming in again. You can see that the infested Terrans are perhaps getting taken down. The missile turret is revealing some of those Infestors. Zerglings now trying to fight back. SCVs repairing the planetary fortress, keeping this base alive. 1 base still able to mine if there were actually any SCVs over there. Zerglings now once again pushing in. You can see a Viking joining in. There should be a fungal growth. No fungal growth just quite yet. Corruptor engaging after a Viking. More Marines continuing to try to push. And it looks like it's a 114 versus a 136 battle. Both sides very low on units. But you can see that Kaz has about half the size army now, as the Broodlords are simply going to be too much. But Corruptors now just walking straight into their death here, as we now see more Corruptors trying to escape again. multiple creep tumors. You can see that apparently the Marines got the memo from the Dominion. Do not fight. Do not fight on creep unless you have to. But the north side of the map, all under Zenio's control. 81 harvesters compared to 54. There are 9 mules though that will even things up just a little bit. You can see that these 7 mules over here at the 6 o'clock expansion. Meanwhile, there is some SCVs over here. The planetary fortress, more SCVs need to be transferred over. These overlords not going to really be able to provide any more harassment unless somehow they get more Zerglings in their belly. As you can see that Kaz is currently oversaturated at this 4th base. Multiple orbital commands though, and both sides trying to replenish their forces. Ghost Academy now being added, siege tanks being added, medevacs being added. Kaz opting to build multiple starports instead of adding reactors, as the Broodlords are upgraded to 1. Broodlords will be dropping Broodlings on by in just a moment. Engineering Bay once again being rebuilt, as I believe Kaz does want the ability or option to at least build some missile turrets. Vikings now coming in, taking down one Corruptor very easily. Another Corruptor may get taken down as well. You can see some infested Terrans. Where's the fungal growth trying to split up those units? There's a fungal growth hitting multiple Marines. Infestors now getting destroyed. No medevacs though, as multiple infested Terrans still being dropped down. Infested Terrans dealing so much damage, but there's no armor or weapons upgrade. Unfortunately, the Vikings do not have any armor upgrades either. 0 armor in air mode. So with 0 armor, they take full damage from those infested Terrans. 8 damage per attack, attacking as fast as a Marine. Now, these Broodlords, 180 versus 192. This is still anyone's game to be had. Marines were able to finish off this hatchery over here, or perhaps get it to cancel. There are a lot of Overlords here. Perhaps the Marines can do a drop and then start shooting Overlords. Another hatchery has been taken down, so Kaz slowly pushing through and getting a lot of damage. Kaz now needs to perhaps pick up these Marines, though. He cannot afford to lose, and he needs to be he cannot afford to lose those Marines unless he plans on giving up the game. Banelings now trying to make their way in, but decided to turn around. But there are no medevacs in this group. The Vikings look like they have been destroyed, and now one Broodlord may start raining on this parade as the Marines now once again turning around. Zenio should be able to clean up this attack force with ease, as the Broodlords now going to start dropping the Broodlings off at the Marines. Those Marines never stood a chance. Zenio now up to 185 compared to 138. Production tab shows ghosts being made, Marines, but we see 42 Zerglings, 3 Broodlords, and 2 more Corruptors. A 143 army. These Vikings do not have any weapons upgrade at all, meaning that the Corruptors with 3 armor, very, very strong, very effective against the Vikings. I believe the Corruptor would normally win in a one-on-one fight anyways, just because of the superior hit points and the base armor. But now add in the additional armor and the additional upgrades, and this is all going to change. Zenio now looking to try to defend against all of these Vikings with 1 queen. That is not going to bode very well, as the Marines now turning around. There is a sight up onto the high ground. Multiple Overlords are being destroyed. Zenio now supply block down to 160. He's going to need to train up a lot of units, as the Vikings are finished off multiple Overlords. We'll have to replace with at least 7 or 8 Overlords here, as the scanner sweeps continuing to reveal the high ground, allowing those siege tanks to shoot up there. Vikings now backing off. Marines now also being escorted. Planetary Fortress attempting to be upgraded here. Really, the upgrades have been helpful. As you can see, another hatchery has been placed down. Kaz could have built this planetary or command center next to it, turn it into a planetary fortress, but in comes this large army here. 166 versus 166. Zerglings looking to perhaps finish off this siege tank. There are a lot of ghosts, though, and those ghosts are going to be effective at perhaps sniping down those expensive Broodlords and even those infestors. The infestors, however, are looking to get off some fungal growths before they get EMP shockwave, as Vikings are now once again going to be on the move. Running in off from the north, it looks like the Zerglings are going to come in here. The planetary fortress getting in some kills already, getting in some damage. SCVs are going to try to repair, but they are going to get splashed around as well. Down goes multiple SCVs. The planetary fortress still being repaired, still staying alive. Multiple SCVs have been taken down. The SCVs now trying to find some surface area. It looks like the planetary fortress, down to 300 hit points, will be able to stick around, as Zergling after Zergling, even 3-3 upgrades, unable to take it down. Perhaps with the crackling upgrade, may have been able to do something. Zenio now moving out with a whole bunch of Broodlords in the center. Vikings now trying to make their way in, and in comes the engagement. Here comes the snipe, here comes the fungal growth, and Marines just shooting at the skies. Who's going to come out ahead? The Vikings. Because of those slow-moving Broodlords, Zenio knows that he cannot disengage here. If he loses all of these Broodlords, the Broodlords are going to just wither away, and there they go. Zenio not in a good position in that fight, but Zenio does have about 5,000 resources, getting the level 2 air upgrades, and now getting the Zerg level 3 flyer attack as well. So those Broodlords, if they do come back again, gonna be able to deal even more damage. But instead, we are now going into Ultralists with Ketonis plating those 5 armor, or I believe 6 armor Ultralists. Going to be so powerful against the Marines. Only the Ghost with mass snipe is going to really effectively deal any damage. Harvester count 85 versus 48. Army of Kaz now larger. So Kaz with the larger army again. Zenio looking to establish some spine crawlers here. We'll see what's going to happen as the Vikings are hunting for Overlords, taking down Overlords slowly but surely, causing Zenio to use Larva on Overlords as opposed to actually building units. Another Overlord will get taken down. There goes another as the Banelings find a whole bunch of Ghosts, and now some Ghosts may get taken out by those Zerglings, and that was a really, really bad trade by Kaz. Kaz cannot afford that. Siege Tanks need to push their way in once more as the Spine Crawlers look like they will be destroyed just as they are completing, able to get off one quick Impale, and that is it. Zerglings and Infestors now pushing over here. Kaz does have Planetary Fortress and building up another one off here. Let's see how this is all going to work out as Kaz now making his way across the map with a large army. Vikings may be able to land and finish off this hatchery as the Vikings, even though they do not have any upgrades, should be able to clean up this expansion rather quickly. More and Siege Tanks now coming in as well. Spine Crawler dealing some damage towards that Siege Tank, but it is quickly taken down by the quick attack rate. And now more units will just fall here. However, the Planetary Fortress of Kaz over here has been taken out, but massive Siege Tanks coming in over here at the 3 o'clock position. Drones are now pretty much in trouble as they have nowhere to run. These Marines could easily stim, finish off all of these drones, and you would start to see the discrepancy. But Marines now fighting back against Ultralists. Ultralists with 6 armor. There's a fungal growth, and there's the GG by Zenio. So LiquidZenio losing game 1 to EmpireKas here on Tal'Darim Altar. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed game 1 in this series.